Hi, and welcome to the recap. We're going to talk about how this family changed in the 1390s, and we're going to take it by colors like we have done in the last couple of years, and we'll just talk about the births that they had and the marriages that they had and who we lost along the way. Let's go. So we kick it off with the Red family, who probably had the least number of changes, honestly, from 1390 to 1400. They had 0 people born. We did have one wedding, which was Ivan Gregory got married to Caitlin Dumond. That was at the very end of the year. And I guess I should say they didn't have any births who lived. Ivan and Caitlin did have a baby named Ivan Gregory who died. So there were not any babies who lived. But Frey will be getting married soon, and Ivan and Caitlin will continue to have babies. So I expect this Red family will look a lot different as we move into the 1410s. Now, let's talk about who we lost. Our old lady Garance died in this decade, as did Ivan's dad, Gunderson. And then you can, of course, see that Ivan and Adrian both aged up to teenagers this decade. So that's it with our Red family. Just a quick little update. They are the ones that live in France, and I expect good things over the next decade. Now we move to our Yellow family, who had a lot of things happen, both good and bad this year. So first, let's talk about the marriages. We had Ursa Jones get married to Ace Wickerson. We had Christopher Archer get married to Beatrice Talbot. We had Victor Jones get married to Roxana Small. And we had William Goodwin get married to Lindsay Cooley. So they had quite a few marriages. They had quite a few births. I'm only going to talk about the births who lived, and then we'll talk about what happened to them, like ultimately through the thing. So in 1391, they had Wyatt Bloom. In 1393, they had Ace Wickerson and Bianca Bloom. In 1394, they had Ursa Wickerson. In 1395, they had Justine Bloom. In 1396, they had Roxana Jones. In 1397, they had Simon Bloom. In 1398, they had Beatrix Wickerson, Victor Jones, and William Goodwin. And in 1399, they had Ian Archer. So they had a lot of babies born this year. It's been really nice. Looking down here, you can see all the toddlers who are still the toddlers. There's only one toddler. I meant infants who are all still alive. I guess there are a couple more toddlers. They're just being held by their parents. But let's talk about the people that we lost this year. We lost William, and I keep saying year, but I mean decade. We lost William. And his son, William, is still here, who came down here and got married and has a new baby named William. So we have 3 Williams here. But anyway, we lost our William. We lost Gold, but her husband is still alive, and he has 5 of their children still left living with him. We still have Bruce Goodwin's whole family. Both of his kids are alive, and they're not married yet, but they are teenagers. We still have Andrew McCarthy living by himself, waiting to get married. He'll be getting married soon. We have Christopher Archer, who got married, and they have 2 children right now. We did lose Adam Hammond, but his children, Zuria and Adam, are still alive and are waiting to get married. And we lost Gwendolyn Jones, who had a horrible 1380s. By losing 2 children and a husband, and then she died in the 1390s. However, her siblings, both Ursa and Victor, got married, and they both have, Ursa has 3 children who are alive, and Victor has 2 children who are alive. So the Jones family had a really good decade after a horrible start with Gwendolyn dying. We only have Porter left over in war. Everybody else in this family lives in England. Horace Goodwin, is about to be leaving pretty soon for an adventure of his own. But that's where we are right now in 1400. Now to our Blue family. You can see that we ended the 1380s with them having 7 people total in their household. And we're ending this decade with them having 9 total people. So let's talk about the marriages. First, we had Arthur Price marry Julian Carroll. Then we had Grayson Morgan marry Bella McCarthy, for the first time that 2 of our colors have married each other. So Bella is from the yellow family, and she married Grayson, who is part of the blue family. So now Bella is part of the blue family. And I will change her clothes to blue. I just wanted to leave it yellow for these pictures, and now we will change her and let her officially be part of the blue family. So now let's talk about births. They didn't have anybody anybody have babies until 1395. And we had Arthur Price and Bella Morgan. And then in 1397, Grayson Morgan. And then in 1399, Evan Price. So those children are still alive. Each couple here has 2 kids, and they're all still alive. Sadly, we lost little baby Julian at the very beginning of the 1390s. We also lost Johanna, and we lost Vitalis and Catherine. So the only one of the adults still left over here is Julian, and he doesn't have any children. So Uncle Julian is just taking care of everybody and hanging out with everybody now. And that is where we leave our blue family in the 1400s. They are going to continue to have kids. So I can't wait to see how much bigger they get. They all live in England right now. In our game, it's Hinford on Bagley is where they live, but it's still part of England. So that's our blue family. And then we move to the gigantically huge family. I don't know any other way to put it. Our purple family has exploded. And I know it all goes back to the fact that one generation ago, our purple family had 20 children total, and only one of those became an heir. So I guess 19 children to just spread out. So that's what's been happening, is a lot of spreading out. So first, let's talk about the marriages that we had, because there were a lot. So we had Isla Summer marry William Fisher. We had Wallace Smith marry Sibylla Bennett. Giovanni McOtter married Piper Dawson. Ingrid Smith married Frances Carroll. Elijah Miller married Annabelle Blackwood. Winifred Miller married Lewis Chaucer. Isaac Miller married Dominique Volpe. Kai Miller married Elpis Angelos. And that is where we end the marriages. There were a lot, 8 of them. And then that means, of course, there were a lot of children. We already had people having babies during this time. So there were a lot of births. So let's go through them. In 1390, we had Rose Bell. In 1391, we had Tolley Smith and William Fisher. Sadly, his mother Isla died during childbirth. 1392, we had Wallace Smith and Giovanni McOtter. 1393, we had Alan Bell, Ingrid Carroll, and Daniel Smith. 1394, we had Elle Summer and Gloria Smith. 1395, we had Isaiah Bell, Frances Carroll, and Maleficent Summer. 1396, we had Kenrick Whitlock and Solomon McOtter. In 1397, we had Peter Carroll and Zena McOtter. In 1399, we had Gareth Summer, Justine McOtter, and Katrina Whitlock. So that was a lot. That was a lot of people born and a lot of people that got married. We also had quite a few people that died. So first of all, I'm going to break it down and talk about it by where they live. I've kind of got them separated off. If you look right here, there's a gap right here, and everybody on this side lives in England. So we're going to save them and do them later, and we'll touch on this group right here first. So these guys, these 5 people right here, live in Ireland. And this is Larkin, and this is Lenata. Lenata is the mom, so let's start there. Lenata's the mom, and she is raising Hugh, who is her nephew, because both of his parents are dead. We lost both of our twins, Edmund and Elijah, and we lost Quentin and Elvira, and we lost Wallace, and we lost Isla in childbirth, and that's it. For the adults, we did lose a couple of the children as well, but for the adults, that's it. So we have Lenata still living in Ireland. She's waiting. Hugh is going to be getting married in 1400, so he is ready to get married, and Larkin will be getting married as well coming up. Isaac Miller is already married. He got married to Dominic, and they do not have any children yet. Then we move, that's everybody in Ireland. Then we move over to Romania, where we have Elijah and his wife, Annabelle. And they have 2 children who are alive right now, and his sister, Lenata, lives with them. And those are the people in Romania. Then we move over to Scotland, where we have Solomon, old man Solomon, over here with his son Giovanni, Giovanni's wife Piper, and their 3 children who are alive right now. The McOtters have 4 children. This little boy actually belongs to the McOtters because Elijah and Annabelle have only had 1 boy who has lived so far. So there we go. The Scottish family has 4 little babies. Romania has 1, and Ireland right now has none, but they just got married over there. So now let's go to England. So we have not had a ton of changes. We do have Flora, who is raising her nephew right here. This boy right here is Daniel Smith, and he's the last Smith. Wallace got married to Sibylla, and they both died in this decade. They got married, they had 3 children, and their children have died except for Daniel. So Daniel is being raised by his Aunt Flora, and everybody else is just in their little family units, except we did have Isla up here, who got married to William Fisher and had a baby and died giving birth to her very first baby. And then the baby died. And so her husband is gone. He left and went back to his family. Our little purple family went from having 34 people in 1390 to having 45 people in 1400. And I only see this family getting bigger and bigger. And that finally brings us to the main household. And as you can see, we started 1390 with a mom and dad and 3 children. And we end 1390s with no dad and only 2 children. This is Ida, and this is her right here in 1390, little baby Ida right here. Harris was not even born. So let's talk about who was born. In 1390, they had Ruth Miller, who lived to be a child, and then she died. And in 1394, they had Harris Miller, and he will be becoming a child in 1400. And he is our heir. Sebastian died this year. This was little Alice. She grew up to be a child and she died. This was Sebastian. He grew up to be a child and he died. And so this main household lost 3 of their children when they became children, which is so weird. If you've watched the things, you know this, because there's only 3 numbers to roll to become a child. And for some reason, my main household, actually, I'm having a hard time with the whole family, is having a hard time rolling not those 3 numbers. So I'm kind of glad that the numbers start switching up in the 1400s. They're not necessarily easier, but they're not the same numbers. So that will be nice for me to not have the same numbers all the time. And so here we are. We end this decade with a potential heir in this tiny little boy's body, and hopefully he makes it to adulthood and gets married and has babies of his own who do not die. And that's where we will be. Here is our family in 1400. I couldn't even get everybody on one page. So we have all adults and teens on this page, and we have children, toddlers, and infants on this page. And I love it. I cannot wait to see what happens with all of them and how everything changes in the next decade. And so I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching and joining me for 100 years in the Miller family. Bye.